Today on Americana, I'm joined by Lorenzo Patanè, actor, acting coach, performer, and co-founder of the Coach MC Studio in Miami Beach. Born in Italy, raised in Germany, Lorenzo built a strong career in television and film before reinventing his path in the US, helping actors, creators, entrepreneurs, and speakers find their voice and own the room. We'll talk about performance, reinvention, the American dream, and what it takes to turn talent into presence, especially when you start over in a new country. Lorenzo, welcome to Americana.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me. Thanks so much for the great intro. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much for this amazing place.
Thank you.
Beautiful space, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's start from where everything started,
Sure.
From where your journey started. What version of America did you have in mind before moving to the US?
A more personal version than what I, and then later on also with Alessandra, my wife, I had the opportunity to explore and also to re-envision and to imagine for myself. I always grew up with the American dream in mind, in Europe, mostly in Germany. Then I branched out to Italy. I traveled all over the globe, actually. But America was always my North Star, my Polaris. And so I had a very personal vision in mind, something that really would give me more freedom, would give us more liberty, more choices, more opportunities.
And so you were living in Italy and then you moved to Germany, so Europe. Why the US? Why the United States? Yes, the American dream. But why Miami? Miami was your first encounter with the US, right? You moved here, or?
No. I started very early. So I think, to give some context, I grew up mostly in Germany. I was raised most of my childhood in Germany. My parents moved out of Italy when I was a little baby. And I grew up mostly in Germany, all over the place. And they opened up a restaurant when I was very little. And so after my parents divorced, I was like 7. I stayed in Germany with my mom. I decided to stay there. And so growing up like late 80s, early 90s in Germany, there was this new thing, this American subculture coming to the German streets, to the German neighborhoods. And back then, also in the 80s and the 90s, it was completely normal to grow up with service personnel. Like in our restaurant back then, which was one of the first like high-end like Italian restaurants. It wasn't like just like a tourist trap and very cheap Italian food. It was like high-end stuff. And so generals would come in, like army personnel from like politicians. And so I grew up with this American subculture, and all of a sudden when hip-hop rap started like really becoming a thing, I was one of the first and also part of the second hip-hop wave. So that meant for us hanging out on the street, tagging graffiti, spraying illegal stuff onto walls, right? That made no sense, and kind of creating this hip-hop culture, rapping, dancing, all that stuff. So for me, even though I was Italian in the spirit and German in the mind, I was always looking on the other side of of this ocean, this Atlantic, this American ocean. And so my first encounter was like late 90s in New York.
Okay.
And so because to me, like, New York represented hip hop and the b-boy culture and rap music and DJing and all that stuff. And so I first went to New York, and then later on when we started with entertainment industry, it was mostly LA. And so I grew up with these two polarities. And all of a sudden we stumbled over later on, then, after I got married with Alessandro, we stumbled over this paradise, the 305 our personal paradise now. And then we decided to move here.
What was your biggest cultural shock when you moved first to New York, then to LA, then later on to Miami, and then the differences, between those cities, very different cultural environments, different people, still very mixed, but like
correct.
Coming from Germany to the US, the first encounter, did you feel a cultural shock or not?
Yes, and I wanted that.
Yeah,
I wanted that shock to happen, because I'm super proud and incredibly grateful for my almost like classical humanistic European type of education, like really studying the grades of philosophy, all that stuff, music, all that stuff. And at the same time, I couldn't wait to get into this jungle. And so New York was perfect for me in the beginning, because New York represented still there's a lot of European mindset in New York, the hustle culture, working hard, really meritocracy, and also studying, having some knowledge, right? Being well educated. And so that helped me a lot. And then of course New York sort of represents like Europe 2.0, right? If you have a lot of good structure and education, and you combine that with that thirst for life, with that hunger, with that passion, with that curiosity, and also with that good old-fashioned elbow grease working type of mentality, woo, you can build those empire states, right? You build these new empires.
Yeah. Did you ever hang out at the actor studio when you were in New York?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay,
I went.
Of course.
Yeah, I went to a lot of workshops, and it was just amazing.
And then LA, and then finally Miami.
Yeah.
For you, if you think back, coming to the US, you had a successful career in Europe as an actor before coming here. It was more like a reset or a new chapter in your career, in your life. A complete reset or a reinvention,
No, absolutely. It's a great question. I think there is a great book, Life as a Remix. And sort of, if you think of it, everything that we call culture is sort of just a remix, a reappropriation, a reinvention, a redefinition, a re-agglomeration of older knowledge clusters. There is no such thing as a new, it's always a remix, weirdly enough. And so the question could be, where is the original source of all these remixes, right, that have been created?
Yeah.
And so to me, America means also this, like to be able to restart, to reset, to revolutionize, to recycle, right? And so this remix that I had in mind, that we had in mind then later on, because God wanted me to be together with my wife, Alessandra, then, everything kind of started really making sense the moment I met her.
So when they say America, even in a cliche way, sometimes it's the land of opportunities. That's what you're telling me. You found an opportunity here, particularly when you think about the business side,
Correct.
Because if you have the gut and the will to reinvent yourself and to rewrite and to restart from scratch. Sometimes, like you were a successful actor, you came here, and now you are a successful coach. And what was the harder thing between the switch, in the switch between from acting to coaching?
Killing
actors?
the ego, I can tell you immediately. I've been I started acting when I was 10. I've been professionally on stage since the day, the moment I turned 12, I was already like having my first pro gig on stage in front of 1,200 people. So since my childhood, I was used to play in front of a lot of people. And later on, when I had my commercial breakthrough in TV, and my soap opera really started taking off in a way no one would have anticipated. It really became like something almost like a cultural phenomenon in its way. Like we broke record after record, and so all of a sudden, instead of 1,200 or 2,000 people, I was performing in front of 20 million people every month.
Wow!
And you can imagine, if you do this for almost 19 years with some breaks in between, your ego starts becoming increasing, like those buildings in New York, right? And so kind of taking that ego down. I think ultimately one of the reasons God also wanted me to become a coach is to save my soul, because the coach, if you really want to become a great coach, a remarkable coach, someone who's really giving you something important, a recipe that really works, that really makes you as a performer kind of more and so if you really want to become that type of person, you need to become useful. You need to shift the focus outward, and it's not inward anymore. And that helped me, that healed me. It's a catharsis in itself. And so I love acting. I'm still an actor, but definitely the coach helped me to keep more balance inside of myself, right? And kind of being also there for other people. And so the ego needed to be killed first. I needed to share all of my recipes, all the juicy stuff, everything that's golden about what I've acquired in 40 years of career, right? Now it's public knowledge, public domain, public service all of a sudden. It's like, and that switch was intriguing, was very challenging.
Yeah, you kind of have to become a psychologist basically for all those actors, That's a path I think you went through. You are Italian. You come from Sicily.
Yes, I'm a Sicilian.
Catania, right?
Yes, I'm from Catania.
The kingdom of Baroque in Italy.
Yes.
And then you went to Germany, but obviously you come from a great culture.
Yes.
Not just in terms of theater and cinema, but obviously art, literature, philosophy. So you had that great background that sometimes for us is a burden, but it's also, a big source of experience and information, data,
and inspiration.
And inspiration.
Right.
So, in the translation to the US, what was the biggest challenge? Obviously that helped you, becoming a coach probably. But is there something that didn't translate in that switch?
Yes. Where are you from exactly? Where were you born?
I was born in Tuscany, but all my family is from Rome. I grew up in Marche, but then I lived in Rome for 16 years. So.
Nice. So we lived in Rome for also 8 years. And Sicily is beautiful. Rome is, of course.
Yes, it's great.
It's like a cornucopia. It doesn't stop, right? The more you explore about Rome, the more you find astonishing stuff that lies beneath the soil, right?
Yeah.
And so when you want to live up to that beauty. I could see a Caravaggio in the morning just by putting €2 in that church box, and so the light would, go on for 15 minutes. And so when you see a Caravaggio in the morning, you want to see more and more Caravaggios later on in the evening as well, at night as well. And so sometimes the standard, what I'm trying to say is, of course, living up to these incredible masters on top of, on which shoulders we're standing. We're standing on shoulders, Nephilims, not giants, Nephilims, almost like not even mythological. We're talking about biblical.
Yes.
Like ancestry that is so deep, so profound, so powerful, and always living up to that. To that task, to that level of quality and stupor when you see it, right? To that definition, to that grace. It's tough. And therefore sometimes, again, battling the ego, like I want my actor, I want my singer, I want my dancer, I want my performer, I want to live up to that Pietà, to that Jesus under the veil, to that Quattro Fontane church in Rome, yeah? But it's not always possible. And you have to learn that it's sometimes a lesson and not always a success, and that it's okay to be also he gives you the very best that he possibly can, and you give him the very best that you possibly can. And if you really believe in that, the recipe will be good. It will be good. It will be interesting. You can't always produce Quattro Fontane. You can't always produce Davids and Mona Lisas and in Sicily we have 3 types of Baroque, not only one.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, what you're saying, it reminds me of some of the great, coaches in theater and in cinema. When there is an actor performing and giving it too much, putting too much Baroque in the performance, they say less, meno.
Yes, meno. Yes.
Which is a great, teaching. Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah. Less can be also sometimes more, like Michael Caine says, right?
Yes.
Famously. And it's okay. You can't always overload, overpopulate, overstimulate the senses. Have faith and believe and have trust that sometimes less is equally interesting and appropriate for that moment, right? Yeah. Like, how does a balloon fly? A balloon flies sometimes by taking off ballast, not by adding ballast. Otherwise, you can't reach those altitudes.
Yeah, you're right. Let's go back to your business. So you founded the MC Studio with your wife, Alessandra Rucco, back in 2013, right?
Yes.
Okay. What was the original mission of the studio and of the whole concept?
That's funny. It was just, of course, there are no such things as coincidences in the universe. Everything is sort of a chain of incredible events that if you zoom out, now I know it makes sense. Yeah. But back then it seemed like being a coincidence that there was this huge demand because of the international productions that were taking place in Rome. And a couple of months earlier, there was this tax incentive that was passed by the European Union. So all of a sudden, American productions were shooting in Rome all over the place. Rome was all of a sudden a big open air set because of the tax reductions that were just passed through legislation a couple of months earlier. So all of a sudden, Italians, not being famous for many things, but not for their English pronunciation, all of a sudden they needed help. And in the beginning, it was just monologues or like pronunciation help, like going through your English audition tape, like kind of indicating where you should pronounce things better, like how things, like it was more like that. It was more technical advice than anything. And so there was this lady who now plays, big roles. She came in and we basically helped her a little bit with her. It was a John Wick audition. It was for John Wick. A little bit with that monologue, just technicalities, English pronunciation. We gave her a couple of, I gave her a couple of exercises, and then she left. And 15 minutes later, a telephone rang, and it was her roommate, also a girl that was also auditioning for John Wick, and she was like, "Hey, so my roommate just told me you're an amazing acting coach, and could you help me with the same monologue as well?" It's like, "What are your rates?" And that was like literally 15 minutes, and it was like, there are no coincidence. It was all a sign. It's like, "What are our rates?" What are our rates? And she's like, "I don't know, tell him something, like $20. It's like, "Yeah, $20. All right, I come by tomorrow. Just book me a place, a spot, all right?" And since that day, we haven't stopped working.
So the perfect example of passaparola.
It's really like that. We haven't stopped working since that day. And so, of course, it mutated over time. We realized, all right, it's not only technical.
How did you mutate since you came to Miami?
Yes, and this is, I think, also something that needs to be shared with your audience. And I believe also this is what, you've witnessed in your career, right? You start somewhere. It's important to start somewhere, but it most likely will end up somewhere else, right? You adapt, you mutate, you transform. With the art that you produce, you change as well. So you start developing a style, understanding how you can put things together that you thought in the beginning were completely detached from each other. All of a sudden, if you put them together with this new product, it makes total sense. And there is a great book about this, The Blue Ocean Strategy. And I've internalized, we shot a beautiful video about this on our YouTube channel about the Blue Ocean Strategy, how important it is. And I've kind of cannibalized this book. And all of a sudden I realized everything that I did beforehand. I think the reason why why people seem to like my coaching recipes, I think one of the reasons is that there are no coaching recipes. It's recipes from life, recipes from art, recipes from architecture, from archaeology, recipes from the Bible, recipes from sacred scripture all over the world, mythology, recipes from geometry.
Yeah, it's the combination of all those disciplines that brings beauty and grace and like
elegance.
Elegance. Like, and we know about elegance because obviously Italy is the country of elegance. In art, in literature, maybe like some people say, which is something that you hear more and over, like it's about the journey, not just about the goal. I think you still have to get there.
Yes, I think so too.
But you enjoy the journey, like you say.
Correct. It needs the third step as well. Like art is idea, production, and display. If you leave display out of the picture, then it's not really art.
Yes, I agree. What does ready to perform means?
That it's okay if you're not ready.
Okay.
Embrace that first. Leave fear, self-doubt, and haunting questions from the past outside. Come in and be not ready. And now we can start talking.
Okay. And talking about performance in the United States compared to Europe, because here it's like in every discipline, it's like people are sometimes overperforming,
Yes.
So it's the question is performance only for actors or everyone is performing here compared to Europe or to Italy if you want?
Well, if you think about it, right? Italy is also a very performative country.
Yes.
And it's funny because the term itself, performance, is also it's a cluster term from two Italian terms. It derives from two Italian words, per and formare. So I have per, forward, towards something, and formo. I want to form. I want to create. I want to somehow transmutate unorganic into organic, lead and base material into gold, right? I want to transmutate. So performare, this is what we all do.
Yes, it's a metamorphosis basically. Yeah, that's what we are and we become every day.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. I agree, yes. That's why, the first time I went to Prague, usually people, whether they go drinking or they do, all the tours, I went just to the Jewish cemetery the first time.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful, yeah.
And I stayed at Kafka's grave for, I don't know, I think 6 or 7 hours or so. And so when you stand, like there's a beautiful little niche, you can actually sit there, right? It's not really a stool, but there's a little, like in the stone wall, because it faces, I think, the western wall of the cemetery. And so what happens is the sun, what I've realized just by sitting there in front of Kafka's grave, is that the sun passes by in such a way, and I don't think, again, that this is a coincidence, and there is a gate. And the gate has like these two big eyes and these vertical, and then it has some sort of roundish shape, like almost wings. And so it looks like there is an owl flying over Kafka's grave during the day.
Yeah, they probably stole some secrets from the Maya temples in
For
Chichen
sure.
Itza. I mean, that's what they built,
And that silent observation, how a gate made out of steel with some sunlight that reflects on a beautiful stone object, how that already is like transformation and metamorphosis, right? We all want to transform, and there is no place in the world like America to do that.
Yes. Talking specifically about actors, what do you think makes an actor, magnetic in front of the camera?
I call this the CAP principle, right? So there is competence to acting, like with any other art form or craft in itself, right? You have a certain competence. In acting, it's body, voice, and mood transmission. Then the A in that CAP acronym stands for alignment, really mashing, connecting, falling deep into the rabbit hole of your art piece, aligning it 160,000%. And at the end, when you figured your competence out, a lot of training, a lot of purpose-driven hours at home alone while no one is watching and you're sweating your blood out, right? A lot of alignment, so excluding everything that is unnecessary and focusing only on the task at hand, which is the only necessary thing that you need to do. And I think Marcus Aurelius said it, right? The Stoics said it. Yes, it's just like the only thing you should be concerned about is improving. And that means that you advance towards the next little achievement. It doesn't need to be big. That is already the explanation for alignment. So if you have competence in alignment, automatically you finally can open up the floodgates to your personality to kind of bleed through the cracks of your work.
Okay, and so since you are a great coach and you are a great coach, I mean, and you teach people how to speak, perform again, and basically show up in front of a camera, in front of an audience. What is the block that you often see in people who want to achieve that, and you have to basically break it?
We could sit here for the next 3 to 5 years. If your assistant is okay, let's get some fried chicken, let's get some drinks, let's start the party. If we would break it down in something a bit more, condensed.
If you want, the synthesis would be, what is the difference between confidence and performance? If there is a gap, and how you build confidence in someone who wants to act, because acting. I remember, I'm still a big fan of Carmelo Bene, and then, he was saying that a lot of actors, when they act, they're ridiculous. And to be an actor in front of a camera, in front of an audience, you need to break that kind of ridiculous feeling, which is probably how you were born as an actor. To break the ridiculousness that you feel when the first time you're in front of 200, but even 5 people, because you are naked in front of them. How you build that confidence and how you break the block.
These are great questions. Let's start from the top. I feel like what hinders, I would say 80%. Interesting enough, that was defined again by an Italian, so-called Pareto, a mathematician of all people. Like, we're coming out of Italy. We're usually not that famous for mathematicians, even though we produce some great astronomers and some some great engineers and inventors as well. But Pareto said that basically you can find this 80-20 rule pretty much everywhere. And so why 80% are not showing up is because they have been indoctrinated not to do so. They are just acting out the program. They shouldn't be surprised. We shouldn't be surprised as observers why they are staying in their quote unquote comfortable zone. And I'm even willing to go so far to say that I think comfort is the most detrimental thing to the human spirit. I think it's really killing more than all the dictators, all the so-called pandemics, whatever's going on there. I think comfort kills more than anything. And where is comfort being generated? There is this, well, in the Bible we have Belphegor, which is the demon of sloth, right? That's going even further than laziness, right? But to make it short, people have been programmed to react and not to act. We live in a mechanical world. Even though we think it's super digitalized and technical and advanced, it's very mechanical in its ground structure. In its fundamentals, it's just a repetition of things. And so people have been indoctrinated just to respond, just to react, just to reply rapidly, not to think, not to create, not to act upon something. And so the three wraths of doom, the three encrustments, the major encrustments that we all experience the moment we are sailing out for that territory called fear, which is, of course, laziness, self-doubt, and this constant, looking over your shoulder and thinking about regrets of the past, whatever that means, or pretending to be traumatized. These three wraths, they obscure the way. If you study Greek mythology, you get the rule. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to those sirens. Go for your North Star.
Yes, and go for the uncomfortable. That translates in every aspect of life, not just art, performing.
Correct.
I think, talking about America, the American dream and Italy, if you are too comfortable and you are not willing to face and to challenge the uncomfortable zone, you will never buy a ticket to come here and face the unknown.
Perfect. Yes.
You will never buy the ticket like you did, your wife did, we did,
Yes.
And it was hard at the beginning for everyone who came to America.
This is how it should be.
Exactly.
Why should it be easy? Where is it written that it's easy? Jesus came not to free us from pain, to give us strength to endure suffering.
Yes, and every good story, as you know, you're a storyteller too. If there's no conflict, and conflict comes from the uncomfortable and from the enemy, the villain, who pushes the hero to become what he is.
Correct.
And that's...
The challenges are there to make us great.
Exactly. With no challenge, we are not...
Or rather, to get the great stuff, it's already there. It's just not structured. Yes. It has no purpose of coming out, no reason to come out. And,
Yes.
and usually this is just a lack of motivation and also realization of what we're actually capable. The moment we realize the golden juice is already there.
And I'm sorry to say, because I love my country, I love my people, but sometimes in business you see this in Italy. Like people get lazy, particularly the new generations, and so they never buy the ticket because it's too uncomfortable, because there is this overprotected families in Italy that delay you facing the reality, and then you come up with a lot of excuses not to buy the ticket.
Yes.
And not to become what you are.
Yes. And again, not to go into any type of strength, but to me, there is some sort of design of keeping people in this comfortable zone to put constraints around that talent and this a perpetual cloak of distraction over their visor in order to see the stars, right? To see Polaris. And that's why we're here, to kind of be one of Aeolus, like the god of winds, and blow this cloak away. It's a smokescreen. It's not true. It's an illusion.
I agree 100%. But that can be true in every country, But
True.
There's just like a laziness that
Correct.
Some countries suffer more than others, and then the people suffer the kind of design, like you say, and they're not able to escape,
And then at a certain point they don't want to, because again they become comfortable.
Yes.
And yes, to give credit to our old land, Italy is been, of course. I mean, look at Rome. Like, who sits there, right? And it's hard also to reconcile, because of course our faith is pristine, but the structure that has been created around our faith is not so pristine. And so Italy especially is a land that has been, kind of in a way blocked in its development and stripped off of its riches and beauty, or let's say stripped off the access, the proximity to have access to it's now like, where is it? Like,
yes.
These monuments are there, but Venice doesn't belong to the Venetians, Rome doesn't belong to the Romans, Sicily doesn't belong. So who owns the land? Who owns our mindset, right?
Yes,
Who owns the culture? Because the culture is everything. If the culture is thriving, then the laziness, to some good old-fashioned, artist procrastination, there's nothing to say about that. That's fine. We don't, like, hustle culture sometimes gets misunderstood, or maybe it is also wrongfully portrayed by some of its most, prominent advocates, in a way that you need to work 7 days a week and 24 hours a day, otherwise you won't make it. It's okay to relax. It's okay to be sometimes lazy, to procrastinate, think about life, go out with your girl, do something that keeps your head off and, blow off some steam. But if you don't have a purpose at all, then it gets problematic. Because then laziness becomes your ideology becomes your identity, and whenever I attack your ideology, you can get even violent in defending it.
Yes, that's true. Let's talk a little bit about our hometown now, Miami.
Yes.
What do you think Miami rewards the most? Confidence, talent, speed, or networking? And everyone is talking about networking, not just in Miami, but in the US in general, which is something that they're far ahead compared to, again, Italy, for instance.
Correct, yes.
But talking particularly about Miami, what do you think, based on your experience, what Miami does reward most,
I think the interesting, very intriguing conundrum about Miami is that it sort of combines a healthy lifestyle and like a healthy disposition to optimism and positivity, even if it's a bit oversketched and sometimes artificial, but that's fine. Everyone shares that vibe, that 305 vibe. That's what I actually love about it, that there is some sort of like a mantra for all of us. And at the same time, it gives you great networking opportunities. And we're seeing, I think, an unprecedented stream of liquidity and very interesting people, flooding our streets here. And so please, also to the Miami people and to the 305 community, take advantage of that. Be quick. Yes. Like Warren Buffett said, I mean, whether you need to be the fast, the weirdest, or the quickest in any market, right? So be quick.
Yeah, that happened particularly after COVID, everyone came here. They're still coming here. Yeah. And that has good and bad sides, because obviously people who used to live here from decades, and now they have their rent, triplicated, and they have to move away. So, but yes, there is a lot of opportunities if you know how to take it and build it, to be taken in Miami, probably for the next 20 years, I would say.
Correct. Yes.
If you have to condense, like in one sentence, what America has given to you, and what was the toll that you had to pay, coming here, translating your work, and probably losing some of your closest relationship that you had in Italy and in Europe,
I don't have close with my. I have my relationship is with God, with Alessandra, with my mother and my cat, and then it's my art. These are my relationships, and then there are other people that I also love. I mean, I'm not superficial, but because I grew up like a gypsy. I grew up in Germany, then I got back to Italy, and then I immigrated back. I don't know to how many countries in my life. So to me, art, and later for sure Alessandra has been the only relationship that I really care about. And so when you are so obsessed about one thing and one thing only, the only thing that matters to you is that you create a structure that gives you access whenever, the liberty. I think happiness is ultimately liberty of controlling your instruments, your time, your resources to, deploy them how you feel, how you deem it best. That's really happiness. And this is what America is giving me. And the toll is, of course, to produce more, to be better every day, to improve. Right? It's almost like a curse, but I have that curse in me anyway, so I gladly accept that challenge. Have you ever read the Never Ending Story? Or seen the movie?
The movie, yes. Yeah, many times when I was a kid, yeah.
So Atreyu, the mythological warrior, at the end of his quest, he faces the Southern Oracle, which is that freezing oracle. First he is, it's in the desert with these two sphinx-like, winged lioness, and then he's in, in Antarctica almost, at the South Pole. And then he kind of, he sees the Southern Oracle, and the Southern Oracle is not an entity. It's not a statue. It's not some wise old Yoda-like sage sitting in his cavern, and brewing some mythical liquid that will give him eternal power. The Southern Oracle is a mirror. He just looks into that mirror. And now comes the incredible twist. He doesn't see himself. He sees the reader. And to me, this is a metaphor for the United States. The mirror here is the reader that needs us. It's not even ourselves. And if we're ready to give up that part of our ego, we can achieve amazing things here, extraordinary things here.
So meet your reader. And
yes.
Would you say that in this uncomfortable but somehow courageous and full of...
I've worked in that studio, by the way, where that movie was shot.
Oh, yeah?
For 6 years.
In LA?
Yeah, no, it was in Germany, actually. It was shot in Munich.
Oh, in Munich.
By Wolfgang Petersen on the Bavaria studio lot. Yeah.
Yeah, great director.
Yes.
Yeah.
He shot a great Troy movie, not this stuff that is coming now.
Yes. So in this uncomfortable, courageous, and full of, inspiration journey, you say you lived like a gypsy, basically.
Yes.
Would you say like Alessandra and your work are your comfort zones?
The most uncomfortable comfort zones you can ever experience in your life.
Okay, that's beautiful.
Yeah, she is beyond any limits. I can create amazing art. I can rap for days without any interruption. I could paint for years without any interruption, write books, act in front of... I did it! And yet, it's all just a sandcorn of a nucleus of an atom of one grain of sand of what I see in her eyes.
And that's what you ask from your partner. Probably, if I have to put it in a sentence, you want your partner to become your reader.
Yes.
You said
oh, that's beautiful, man. Thanks. I've never thought about that, but yes. Thank you.
What is the biggest compromise that you had to do, that you had to make here?
I think there is this, at least, and this is what I've experienced. Everywhere I went, big cities, they take a toll on you. It's almost like, Shaoran on the Nix River, right? And beneath the pyramids, right? In order to get to the other side, there is a sacrifice that you need to make.
What was yours? A sacrifice can mean also something of your personality that you lost and you realize afterwards,
That's a very good question. So I don't think it's necessarily one thing only. It's sort of you start realizing, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not saying this anymore. I'm not seeing that person anymore. I'm not interacting with that environment anymore.
Give me an example. What do you used to say that now you don't say anymore?
Well, I think like everything in the human experience, we change our opinions, we change how we see things when we experience them from the inside. And of course, all the information that I could have gathered about the United States, and it was a lot, because I'm I'm obsessed about knowledge. So when I started realizing we're about to do this, I started researching everything that you could think of. And so you start realizing that, of course, you're focusing on this now. You want to become this juggernaut, this creative machine. You want to do this. You have ambitions. And so, of course, you lose a little bit of your tranquility. You sacrifice a little bit of the silence that you could, a little bit of just also looseness and breeziness, right? And in Sicily, the rent is, it's 10 times less than what I pay here. Not more than 10 times less than what I pay here. So, sure, the pressure is high. I'm sacrificing a little bit of that inner peace, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. And then many little aspects of, I don't have time to do certain things, or kind of relate to certain, or visit certain hobbies as much as I did in the past, and that's fine.
But probably the fact that you are making it here gives you the tranquility that you didn't have there, because it's harder,
I never said that to myself, even when I was on top of European television, or let's say at least German television, that now I made it. The moment you say that, you're done.
So there was never a moment here in the United States where you thought, even one day, one thing that happened in your life or in your business, that you thought, I can make it here?
No, there was that.
Okay.
That definitely, yes.
What was that?
I had a meeting once. I was a production designer for a Hansel and Gretel iteration, and I had a meeting once with Hans Zimmer, and I presented him my complete production design, and he gave me 90 minutes of his time.
Wow, that's a lot.
Uninterrupted in his private studio in Santa Monica, and the only person that he allowed to disturb him was his wife and Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was governor back then. He had like a little Arnold Schwarzenegger phone call. Yes, governor. No, I can't. I have this thing. Yes, I call you. Yes, yeah. That was the only. And so, besides his family and Arnold Schwarzenegger, he listened to me for 90 minutes.
In German?
No, he wanted it to be in English.
Okay.
He was not totally comfortable in speaking Austrian or German or anything, and so he wanted it to be in English. And yeah, he looked at my stuff, at everything, my pitch, I run everything, and not only was he satisfied, they stole my idea later on. It wasn't him. Yeah, later on I saw exactly what I pitched to him, my design. I still have them in part, being realized for the Hansel and Gretel movie, but I wasn't attached to it anymore. It doesn't matter. I mean, you realize, okay, you can compete.
Yes,
you're up there. You can be useful even for the so-called echelon. And so this is a moment where I realized, okay, my product, and that was just my drawing. It wasn't even my acting, right? So then I thought, okay, if my drawing's already, or my whole artistic setup already impressive, like, wait till you see me perform, right?
Yeah, there is a match here. Yeah. What did America force you to learn fast?
You burn every day. You burn time every day. Burn. Burning hot, disco inferno, burn. You're now part of the game. You're now part of the dance. If you really want to compete with these people, you need to burn time, burn oxygen, burn cells.
And on the other side, is there anything?
And also burn some body fat. I got skinnier here again.
Yeah,
and so it's good.
Same.
All beautiful people here. Model. Look at that. You look like a model.
Well, I had to cut
man.
pasta because
I'm a coach.
And on the opposite side, like on the contrary, is there anything that you had to unlearn from Germany and Italy to make it here, or to continue to be successful here, or to match
a certain rigidity? Like Germany is a bit of a rigid country, and of course I at a certain point after my commercial breakthrough, I enjoyed incredible privileges that I don't have over here because I'm not a household name and all that. And so yes, definitely that, you become more flexible in a good and also in a bad way, because at a certain point, the thing that I loved about, Germany is like, you got this now. It used to be, now it's a broken, lost country, but it used to be like one of those countries. Yes. Right? It was one of those countries. Like everything was just perfect till early mid 90s, right? And
from Europe, do you think, what is the thing that people misunderstand about the American dream seen from there, you know, if there is anything that that you think they still misunderstand in the creative world particularly.
There's a lot of things that they don't get about us. And now I say us because it's...
Yes.
I know I grew up thinking like an American teenager, and now I live here and I'm a professional. I'll be happy to get the American citizenship as well. I always loved of working and living here, and I can't wait to be... And so what they get a lot of things about us wrong. I think the biggest thing is misconception is that we're superficial, that we're not really good listeners. We are extremely good listeners. That we are not profound. We are profound. It's a young nation. Well, it's not that young. Actually, it's way older than people assume, right? There's a lot of historical washy-washy. But in itself as a republic, it's a fairly young nation. Let's put it this way. There is this curiosity here that kind of, and there's a huge misconception about how we treat each other. And yes, sometimes we're larger than life. So we have big cars, big streets, big cities, big everything. We want it big. Yeah, that's our ambition. So
where do you think this misconception come from, you know?
It's by, again, in my opinion, it's by design. You know, they want this division of not understanding, hey, we're just a continuation of what the Platonic school once has been. I mean, look at Washington, D.C. It's literally what Plato and the Roman Empire, if you fuse that together, that's exactly the blueprint of a city that you would get. That's our capital. It's Columbia. You know, look it up. What does this term mean? Right? So that idea of Columbia, of the white city, not because we're all Caucasians, in terms of splendor, of purity, of divinity, of grace, of beauty, of elegance, of power. Elegance is power under control.
Yes, which becomes grace.
Correct.
What does success mean for Lorenzo today? Being successful.
Get up. Go to the gym, do good work, have your faith, be a good husband, be a good coach, be a good teacher if you can. You know, take care of your house, do good things, say good things, think good things. That's success. Like, there's this great speech by Peter Gruber, who founded Mandalay Pictures, and he said, like, for a 6-year-old, what is success for a 6-year-old? It means go to the toilet. No one helps you. You do this on your own. Funny enough, for a 96-year-old, it's the same thing.
Yes.
For a 16-year-old, having your driver's license is success. Funny enough, for an 86-year-old, still having a driver's license is success. It always depends on the stage of life. But if you, Ahura Mazda said it, like, do good deeds, think good thoughts, speak good words. The rest will align.
So it's about a lifestyle, living a good life.
Yes.
With morality.
Like Chekhov said it, if you don't live a great life, you can't create great art.
Yes.
This idea of the broken psychopath, of, the pure, desperate, frustrated. We glorify Van Gogh with all the humbleness of the moment, right? Way too much. That's the exception of that's the 0 point. We're always focusing way too much on the 0.136% instead of looking at the 99%. We built the largest structure in the world beneath 5 countries. We call it Hadron Collider to search for the God particle, the smallest ever existing particle. You have 99.99999% of space that you could explore. No, let's explore the smallest denominator. It's not the smallest denominator, it's the biggest. Everything that holds us together is space and consciousness. Why shouldn't we explore rather that instead of looking for some phantomatic, mysterious, like somehow ethereal God particle that hasn't produced itself, or at least they claim so. Others claim that they did in 2012 and now our timeline has changed. That could be also the case. I don't know.
Yeah. This is a game that I do at the end of the conversation usually. Fill up this sentence. America gave me, and then you fill it up with this or that, but took away from me this or that.
Mm-hmm. So America gave me freedom. but it took away a bit of tranquility. America gave me hope, but took away some old stability. America gave me many ways, but it took away certainty. And so to end up with what Voltaire said, change is inevitable, but certainty is absurd.
Nice. Now, if there is if you have to address someone in Italy watching this show, and and someone who is willing to break that uncomfortable zone and buy that ticket, what would you tell that person to do?
Learn English.
That's it.
If you can't communicate with people, you won't understand them. And then you will always feel like, the lazy finger pointer and accuser will come out, right? That nasty little Grinch fella that you have in the back of your head, and will think that there is some sort of universal conspiracy against you, poor pizza baker. No, it's just you not understanding a goddamn word. So learn English perfectly, and then you see how you can have success in this country.
Yeah, start from there for sure. To you, is the American dream still alive, or it just got more expensive?
Are you alive? So
Yes.
it's still alive.
Okay. Lorenzo, thank you very much.
No, thank
this
you.
was a very insightful conversation about your work, about your journey, about the difference between performance and confidence, but also the metamorphosis, and what it takes to to make the journey and try to live the American dream, which can have different shapes, different layers. But I think you beautifully explain your side of the American dream. Is there anything you want me to ask, or anything we didn't touch on?
Yeah, what is the craziest question that you've ever asked in your life?
The craziest question that I ever asked in my life? To
Yes.
who?
Doesn't matter. What is the craziest? Maybe to your father, I don't know.
To my father.
And what did he
Maybe-
answer?
I don't know. One of the craziest. I wouldn't call it craziest, but one of the most important questions for me to ask someone, and I didn't ask maybe as much as I should have in my life, is, have you ever loved someone deeply? Because love is one of those aspects of our life that sometimes we think is always there. Is never there if you don't go for it. And myself, I tend to make a distinction between sentimentalism and romanticism.
Yeah,
For me, it's
yeah.
a very
Yes,
there's
true.
a bridge.
I agree. Yeah.
It couldn't be so, more different. But like finding love, like you explain your love, for Alessandra, but also for your work.
Yes.
And if you are able to love, then you'll be loved in life. There is a poem from Raymond Carver called The Last Fragment, where it basically asks this question: do you feel that you were loved in your life? Because that's probably the last questions and the last answer you want to give before you die, And if you felt that love, and if you are able to ask someone, do you have someone loving you, right now? And if the answer is yes, that's probably a revolution, that you made in your life. And I wish everyone can live the revolution, that kind of a revolution, because it's transformative and it's uncomfortable sometimes, but you find yourself and you become your own hero, and you find your reader, as you said before.